Welcome to Cattle Sense, your weekly podcast. I'm your host, Penny Bowie. We are discussing today the value of performance record keeping in the cattle industry. But first, hit that subscribe button and share so we can build a large herd of viewers together. Let's have some fun and welcome Dr. Lance Bauer. He's Director of the Breed Improvement of Beefmaster Breeders United in San Antonio. Hey, Lance, welcome to Cattle Sense. Tell me a little bit about your position at BBU.
Okay, so I've been with BBU since 2016 as Director of Breed Improvement, anything that's performance related. So all your weights, scan data, all of that. I look at that. I see what's going on there. The EPDs, the genetic evaluations, I help with those and evaluate those, make sure they're going right. And then anything that we have going on research-wise across the country, I help with that. We got some really neat things going on with Texas A&M, University of Tennessee, University of Arkansas, Monticello, and several other interested universities that I think will pop up here pretty quick. So I deal with all the research side and helping move the breed in the right direction in terms of genetics and performance.
That's cool. That's a good position. You get to be on the forefront of a lot of stuff for the Breed Association. Today's topic is value of performance. And I know record keeping is top priority for ranchers. Since breed improvement is right up your alley, I'm excited to hear your presentation. So let's get started.
All right, so we'll get started with this, and I think it's always important to know the history and why we do what we do. And I think the history of selection, it dates back to when we domesticated cattle, and we started selecting them for milk. We started selecting for draft. We started now selecting for beef, things like that. And that started with visual trait selection. Then we started measuring performance. And now we've got new tools. And I think, Penny, we can get into these more in depth on another topic, but EPDs and genomic enhanced EPDs. So our performance traits that we look at and that we ask people to record and that are extremely valuable are birth weight, weaning weight, yearling weight, scan data, mature cow weights, and then if they're on a feed test, RFI is a good trait to have. We have an EPD for that. But these are the performance traits and growth traits that we kind of look at, and scan data. So these are all economically relevant, and you can see on the screen it tells you when to take those weights. So birth weight within 24 hours, weaning weight 140 to 270 days. Yearling weight and scan data starting September 1 are going to have a matching window of 320 to 450 days of age. And then mature cow weight, when you wean a calf off, take the mature cow weight and get a body condition score on the cow. And the weight traits are extremely important, and I think we'll hear about that from our other guests here in the next part and when we all get to talking. But the weight traits are huge. Birth weight, weaning weight, yearling weight, and then mature cow weight and carcass weight are huge traits to record when we have that available. And so, hitting on those different weight traits, if we start with birth weight and why it's important, birth weight is going to account for about 60% of all your dystocia and calving problems. And that's why many commercial producers are going to select for low birth weight bulls. Now, I will caution you, selecting for low birth weight and strictly low birth weight can adversely affect your growth to weaning and to yearling. And we'll talk about, the economic relevance of those traits here in just a minute. So I think weaning weight's one of the most important traits to capture, that 205-day weight, as some people call it. And the biggest thing is most commercial cattle in this country are sold at weaning. They go through your local sale barn, so they're sold at weaning. So increasing your weaning weight increases your return as a seller. So it's always important to look at that and monitor that. And then your weight of the calf per cow exposed is extremely important for some maternal traits, fertility, things like that, and the efficiency of the cow. And then yearling weight, we collect yearling weight because it's correlated with the carcass weight. And, some people do sell at a little bit older age, but, it's correlated with carcass traits. So if you're selling them on the rail, you can kind of get a gauge as to where you're going to be, and also correlates with mature cow weight. So A larger yearling weight is favorable for carcasses, and more moderate yearling weights are more favorable for mature cow weights and cow efficiency. Well, just to kind of wrap up, the weight traits is we look at those weight traits because we're in the pounds of beef business, no matter how you look at it. We're selling pounds
Mm-hmm.
of beef. And then moving into the carcass traits, this is where you can kind of add a little bit of value here and there. And, ribeye area we look at, that's important for yield grade. IMF, that's your marbling prime choice select standard.
Mm-hmm.
We just had a set of steers killed, and they were 87% choice or better. So
That's
hitting
good.
industry
That's real
standard, that's
good.
really good. And then that
Yeah.
fat, the rib fat, that's also used in yield grade. So all that can drive up value. And so ribeye area, again, just the measurement of the longissimus dorsi. It's an indicator of overall muscle and a factor in yield grade. So you can get some premium or discount there.
Mm-hmm.
IMF, measurement of intermuscular fat. That's the main quality main factor going into quality grade. And then fat, it's a measure of the fat thickness over the ribs, and it's the biggest factor in calculating yield grade. So all value drivers on the rail. But I think that kind of hits the traits that we measure. And then this next slide talking about how cattle are marketed. I think that's, kind of the biggest one in here to think about and get your takeaways from as to why we do this selection and why we measure these traits. Because the biggest factor, no matter where you market them, whether it's right off the cow, whether it's on the grid, weight is where you get your biggest bang for your buck. So we're always selling pounds of beef. And then most calves, again, are sold at the local auction barn. And then when you
Mm-hmm.
get to where you're gaining ownership and going on the grid, then you really start looking at those carcass traits.
Our sponsor today is Beefmasters on the Brazos Invitational Sale.
Hey, Penny, this is Trey Share with Strategy Cattle. We've got an awesome opportunity for breeders to come out there. We want to invite y'all to the annual convention sale, the Beefmasters on the Brazos, to be held this Saturday, August the 10th at 2 p.m. at the Texas A&M Beef Center. That's where we're going to be having this year's sale. We've got over 42 lots. We've got open heifers. We've got bred heifers, pairs. We've got semen and embryos. It is an outstanding opportunity. If you're looking to increase the productivity and the value of your herd, this is an opportunity. We'd love to invite everyone out to see a great offering. If you have any questions, call me, Trey Shearer, Sales Manager with Strategy Cattle, and we'd be happy to answer the questions. The catalog is in the Beefmaster Calendar. And again, that sale is this Saturday, August the 10th at 2 p.m. at the Texas A&M Beef Center in College Station, Texas, in association with the annual BBU convention, Beefmasters on the Brazos 2024.
Hey, Lance, thanks for the presentation. That was really good to hear. We have two top cattle breeders that believe in cattle production record keeping. They use it as a tool to improve efficiency and profitability for their operation. Let's bring in our guests. We have today Clark Jones with Jones Beefmasters and Buddy Rainey, a Raptor 4R from Groveland, Florida. Thank you both for joining us today. I'm very excited to hear your story on keeping track of production records.
Okay, Penny, thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here. Tell you a little about our program. My family's been in the cattle business all my life. I started high school judging cattle, and cattle's always been a passion for me. Been blessed to be in this breed 37 years now and served a lot of different capacities. Currently serve as chairman of breed improvement for BBU and enjoy that, working with Dr. Bowers every day and all things we've got working right now. But we are meticulous about record keeping. We're going to talk more about that, but that's been the focus of our program all these years. Is I realize as a purebred breeder, our total mission in life is to be a servant for the commercial industry and to produce a product that will help them be more profitable. And then the end consumer at the end is always on our mind, having a good experience with beef. So that's kind of what I do, Penny.
Okay, how about you, Buddy? What's your operation?
Well, I've been in the cow business for about 25 years now, and from seed stock. Started off in the seed stock with Beefmaster cattle. Then over the last 10 years, we've sort of moved that operation more into a commercial operation. Today, we got 200 head of Beefmaster cows that we cross the Red Angus bulls for our terminal cross cows, and we're running about 700 head of Beefmaster Red Angus type commercial cows.
Okay, cool. So let's get to our topic, record keeping. How's it helped improve your herd management? Clark, let's start with you.
Okay, Penny. Of course, Dr. Byers certainly knows I'm fanatic about. We get everything from birth weight all the way through the 12-month evaluation, I call it, which is your scan day, your yearling weight. We're involved in every aspect of it that we do at BBU, and we've worked hard over the last 30 years to move our cattle in the right direction. Lance made reference to some live kill data we've done, and it's all important to us and part of our records. We have over 5,000 12-month scan data now on our cattle to do that. But, in saying that, I realize the most important thing is, and I know that's where Betty was going with his, that we want to make the Beefmaster female the queen of the maternal side of the cow business. We're Lance and I are involved with working with our $M, which is our maternal index at BBU, where we get live cattle, mature cow weights. We want to move to where we can encompass cow efficiency, other things into that trait. So that's kind of the things that I work on a daily basis. And Lance mentioned that we just killed a set of purebred steers the other day that did pretty good. And so, we're involved from birth to the dinner plate. Is what we try to do, and making a good experience for the American consumer.
Hey, buddy, how about you?
Yeah, and record keeping is from my previous life. I learned that if I couldn't measure it, I couldn't change it. And so that's what that we really pay attention to with record keeping. That way we know what that it is that what's working and what's not working. And so we have all of our cattle have RFIDs in. So every cow that comes through the squeeze chute, there's a set of scales there. Every time we touch a cow, we get the mature weight of that cow. Our guys are trained to go out into the pasture when they're during normal times and just body condition score every cow so that we can always keep up with that. On the way to calves, back to selling, we as Dr. Bauer said, we sell cattle by the pound, and so I want a calf that's gonna hit the ground and grow, and it's got carcass qualities with that as well.
Yeah, it's all
Right.
about pounds of beef.
Yeah, if Dr. Bowers could convince our purebred members to do all the work Buddy's doing, it would just breed and move fast. So, Buddy, I want to applaud you on what you do from that standpoint. That's exactly what's important to me, and I commend you for what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that, Clark.
Yeah, now, by enhancing your records, how has it increased your profitability and marketability and all of that?
Well, Penny, I appreciate that. My dad always said, if you do it right, you don't have to tell people they'll figure it out. So that's what we've tried to do over the years. We've tried to build a product that is pleasing to the commercial industry first, but also now I think because of hard work from people like Lance and others, people are paying attention to those economic traits. Of course, conformation is important in cattle. We know that they've got to have the right look to start with. You got to have udder quality. You got to have, you want a cow that looks like a cow first, and then you go.
That's right.
We measure everything, and cows index, in the bottom 20% of the deal, they go to stockyard here. They don't last year, and I don't put them on other people. It's just something we do. We measure those traits, and we can identify. I can go through 225 cows. I don't need a book. It's here though. All the records are kept, and but I can tell you the cows that are working and doing their work and are improving the breed as a whole. Of course, like I said, I believe Beefmaster is the best maternal cow in the entire industry, and our knock on them is always been that they've got too much drama. They won't grade. Well, we're working today to improve that they will. And we've got records. I just sent those kill sheets to Dr. Bowers that our cattle will grade in there. And if you use Buddy's, I again commend him. The Red Angus Beefmaster Cross is a wonderful, wonderful animal. And I think it gives you a lot of everything. But what we want them to know that they can have this great cow that will do 120, 125% more, index that much more at weaning, and she'll still not hurt your carcass, and she'll stay with you. Longevity traits are something we measure too. We have an EPD for longevity that Lance is running that we're fixed to encompass in what we do. And I can talk about EPDs all day because I love them. And that's what we try to do in our record keeping is we measure everything you can measure. Now we don't measure hoof length and tail length, but everything else we're measuring every day. And like Buddy said, we same thing. Every cow that goes through the chute, we get a body weight, we get a body condition score, and Justin, my ranch manager, does that. So we've got one person giving that body condition score, and we keep up those. That's part of our EPDs that we do every day. And those cattle in the flesh, and at some point we'll be moving where we can take that body weight Buddy's talking about, and then encompass that weaning weight of that calf and get an efficiency number on that cow, and that's where BBU's heading because that's where we fit in the industry. Anyway, I'll hush and let Buddy tell you what he does.
I appreciate that, Clark. And we want these girls to produce. And so some of the most important things for me, for us to be able to keep up with, every cow brings a calf to the weaning pen every year. And I give them zero excuses. Somebody will say, well, what if a coyote got one of these calves? The coyote didn't get one of the other 200 calves that was in that pasture with her, so I can't keep up with that. She needs to be a better mama. She's going to the kill floor. Like Clark said too, I don't pass that stuff along to anybody else. Whenever they don't make it, the next thing that they do is that they're gone. And our mature cow score weights compared to the calves that are weaned, that's that stuff that we keep track of that Clark was just talking about as well. Because I want to make a moderate frame cow that can still wean me a 550-pound calf that we can market and sell.
I agree with everything that both of these gentlemen are saying, and it's great to have people, a seed stock producer as well as a commercial producer that showing both aspects and both sides of the spectrum of, this is why we weigh, this is what we're doing with them, this is how we're using this data, and on the seed stock side, as that data flows in, we get to use that in our EPDs and the calculation of our EPDs. So all of our weight traits, all of our maternal traits, all of our efficiency traits, all of that goes into all this data that comes into the association goes into that calculation EPDs to make tools for people like Mr. Rainey to use those in the selection process of his bulls that he's going to use and in his cows. So.
Yeah, well, I think the buyer these days, they're educated and they're looking at these performance records. Y'all agree?
Well, I do, Penny. I think so. I contend that, EPDs are a wonderful tool, and the accuracies of the EPDs, Lance is an expert. He can expand on that. But we've got bulls that are trait leaders in certain traits that are 98, 99% actually have over 500 records from 40 different breeders across America. That's where your real validation comes in on your EPDs. It's when you've got a cross section across America of different breeders using them, and your accuracies get that high. Certainly, we use genomics also, as Dr. Byers might expand on that at some point. Genomic enhanced EPDs, which just I guess multiplies those things. But I'm kind of like Buddy. I like to see the product. I like to see it when it comes out. I like to see what the scales say, and it gives me a better idea of what I'm dealing with every day. No one a believer in EPDs than myself, and especially when the accuracies are high and there's a good cross section of breeders that have used it. You can go online and on a purebred bull, and it will tell you the number of breeders that used it, the number of calves that's weaned, number of calves that scanned, and the mature cows that are out there still in production out of those bulls. So that's an important trait that most breeders, purebred breeders, don't use enough, and it's common sense in Buddy's life every day. So that's what I'd say about that.
Yeah, and I like to expand on that from a commercial breeder's point that, I use the EPDs a lot whenever I'm selecting bulls. It's a place to start. Dr. Bowers talked about this just a moment ago. If I'm looking for a bull that's going to make replacement heifers, I want a yearling weight that's a moderate frame because I don't want big cows. I don't want to be feeding big cows. That way I can select those at that group, and then I go after that selection. Then I go and look at phenotype and does it look like what I want the bull to look like? And and the structure of that bull. How does the bull move? So it's just tools in my toolbox to help me to make better decisions.
And I completely agree, and I think I've tried to point that out, and I think both these gentlemen have pointed it out, is that these EPDs are a tool.
Talk about the dollar T index and dollar M, which it encompasses everything Buddy was talking about. Buddy, since you were in, we developed this terminal index and maternal index, and it takes in a number of traits. Lance, you don't mind expand on that just a minute?
So we have the terminal index or dollar T, and that's going to be focused on if you're going to take those calves and feed them out and hang them up on the rail. So it's going to take into account growth traits and then your carcass traits and try to get you the maximum. It's still a difference. So you're going to evaluate the difference between bulls using that dollar T. But a bull with $100 T versus a bull with a $90 T, that one with 100, his calves should bring $10 more than the one with a $90. M is going to be for making replacement heifers, and right now it's got birth weight, weaning weight, moderating the yearling weight, milk, and then at the time of its conception, the only fertility trait was scrotal circumference. That one's the one we're really looking to revamp, but it's going to look at making replacement females with an efficient cow that's going to wean off a big calf.
Now, when you say big calf, you're talking about pounds.
Pounds. Pushing up on weaning weight and pushing down on yearling weight to make that moderate cow like you were talking about earlier, but also, wean off that 550, 600 pound calf off that moderate sized cow.
Now, another thing too, I find that, when you're selling these cows, whether you're selling them at the sale barn or if you're selling them, I guess, under the tent at your sale, that, buyers are starting to trust the proven records that you have of performance. The buyer is got to trust what you're doing. So you got to have good records.
Yeah, I mean, Penny, that's just part of it, especially the purebred business. I mean, records and consistency and efficiency and actually your brand means something. So that's what we try to do. We you talk about evaluation of cattle since '92. Every animal born on this place has had every amount of evaluation you can have. We've scanned every animal, where they went to sale barn or whatever they did. Those cattle get scanned and we got a carcass evaluation. That's why we're a leader in those traits. And then this cow efficiency and maternal, I think, on dollar M, we've got a great deal of our cattle show up there also, which I put a big emphasis on, is fertility. Like Buddy said, if she don't bring up a calf, well, she's just what I call a pasture ornament, as my granddad used to say. She just stand out there looking good, and
yeah.
So they got it. We put the pressure on our cattle because we run a lot of cattle on not a great big place, so they've got to be efficient. And they got to do what they got to do, and then they got to produce at the end. We tried to simplify and break this thing down to terminal and maternal. And that Lance says we're working on it. We're going to modify it a lot as we go along with this live cow weight and this efficiency factor. So we want to make it simple for a commercial man to know that these indexes mean something.
Well, it sounds like using performance records enhances your breeding decisions, genetic progress, your herd management, your overall efficiency, marketability, contributing to success and sustainability to your cattle operation. What are the most valuable traits that y'all select on?
Well, in my case, I don't know that any trait other than the maternal side of the thing, because, be honest, when people buy Beefmaster bulls, their mission is to raise replacement females in most cases. And I think we've got, like Buddy said, he did a little different. He had the good cows, and then he put the Angus bulls on them, and he made a really good product at both ends, in my opinion, in the feedlot and in the cow production. So I think any of the maternal traits are most important. Now, in saying that, for over 30 years, we've evaluated carcass on our cattle because that was a knock. And we, just for a simple thing, if an animal doesn't have a minimum of a 2 IMF, we cull them regardless of who they are or what they don't stay here. If they don't meet that, they don't have an inch of ribeye per 100 weight, they don't stay here. If they're in the bottom 10% of weaning, they don't stay here. And I mean, we're just that. We're that tough on our cattle. So I mean, that's what I do, Penny. It's been important to me. We've got a strict thing, and Lance knows it. He's seen me do it. So that's what we do.
Lance, breeders keep enhanced records like Clark and Buddy. They help the association in what kind of way?
So, as we work on these EPDs, we work on developing tools that help the breed move forward and help us be a valuable choice and the best choice for the maternal cow for the commercial breeder. As these records come in, we can develop new tools. The more records we have, the better our tools become. We've gone from just regular, like we talked about at the beginning, from selecting based just on performance records to now we got genomic enhanced EPDs. So, I mean, we're going from a hand saw to, a battery operated saw. So we've got a lot of technology. And as that technology moves forward and we get that data in, we continue to build on these tools and make these tools better for selection because of all the performance records. The more records we have, the more accurate it is. I mean, it's just, it's kind of working on the law of averages. So, the more records you have, the better it is for everything.
Well, tell me this, how important is it for breeders that really want to get into record keeping? What's their first steps, you think?
I mean, I think the first steps is finding some way, because like I said, the biggest is weight, because we're in the pound of beef business. So collecting weaning weights is something huge if you can do that. There are affordable sets of scales out there to collect those weaning weights. Collect weaning weights. If you can't get a birth weight, at least get a calving ease score, because that to me, that's more important than birth weight, is whether or not she had that calf without assistance. So calving ease scores are important, but if you can get a set of scales and get some weaning weights, get some yearling weights, and as you get moving, move into some things like scanning those cattle and look at going to scan days. If there's somebody with a scan that's having cattle scanned in your area and you can get there, try to get there. I know that a lot of the satellites within BBU have those scan days to where anybody can come and bring their cattle and have them scanned for the carcass trades.
I know I got a small herd of cattle, and I keep all of them to their yearling to get that yearling data just to help my herd.
And I think the thing to realize is collecting all that data and recording all that data. It lets you know in any size herd, what's good, what's bad, where you can make your culling decisions. And one thing I will point out is keeping the top end is ideal, but that may not be the most important part. The most important thing may be cutting off the bottom end.
I see. Well, we're wrapping this up. Anything else you want to tell the viewers?
No, thank you, Penny, for having me on. It's been great, and look forward to maybe doing some more in-depth topics.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, I've learned some valuable things today, Lance, and every cattle breeder needs to listen to this podcast several times just to soak up all the great information you've given us today. And thank you, Lance and Clark and Buddy, for your time and the masterclass lesson. To our viewers, thank you for your interest in Cattle Sense. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're building a large herd of viewers today, and after today, we'll be keeping records.